In this lesson we are going to create this scene. We will go step by step through the modeling, lighting and base color setup to shape the overall mood and look of the image. We will start with a basic scene. The walls, windows and placeholder furniture are already there as simple boxes. This makes it much easier to start replacing them with real furniture models and decor right away. Let's begin with armchairs. We'll merge it into the scene. All you need to do is drag the model file into the top view and choose Merge. There are 3 models inside this file. One of them has fur and we definitely don't need it, so I'll keep only the left one. Use Alt-click on it to remove it from the selection and delete the rest. Now let's modify the chair a little. I want the back side of the chair to be wooden, with a nice smooth transition into the fabric. I'll isolate the chair together with the rug and raise the chair slightly so it sits properly on top of the rug. Next, we delete the Corona Displacement mode and switch to polygons in Editable Poly. We need to select the back part of the chair. For that, we turn on by angle. Now we need to find the best angle for the selection. I'll keep it at 10 and use Shrink a few times. Then I'll set 5 in by angle and, while holding Ctrl, manually add the remaining polygons I need. Now we do an extrude. Click on the small settings box next to extrude to open the options. Change the extrude type to local so the polygons move according to their own direction instead of moving in one shared direction. Then we enter a negative value so the shape is pushed inward. I'll use -5. Now let's check the smoothing. We go into Turbo Smooth and see how it looks. If you want to see it directly in the viewport, you need to increase iterations. 2 iterations are more than enough here. It looks good, so we can exit polygon mode and go back to Turbo Smooth. Now we can copy the chairs and place them into position. In a case like this, it is usually better to choose Instance Copy. I'll show both a regular copy and an instance. And I'll also turn off the Turbo Smooth iterations so the scene stays lighter and easier to work with. Now let's move on to this side table. First, I'll reduce the number of height segments. Then I'll convert to Editable Poly, right-click, Convert to Editable Poly, and switch to Vertex mode, select the lower part and raise it. Now, let's create the legs. We'll make them using a box. To center it, we'll use the Align tool. The shortcut is Alt+A, or you can also pick it from the top toolbar. Then click on the object you want to align to. In our case, that is the cylinder. Next, we adjust the height, fix the proportions, and align it again. Then we create a rotated copy. After that, I convert the legs to Editable Poly and attach the second leg so they become one object. In the front view, I select the bottom vertices and raise them slightly so they sit above the rug. For the tabletop, I want a cleaner shape that works better with Turbo Smooth, so I'll rebuild it a little. We create a new cylinder and set it to 16 sides. Then align it to the previous cylinder and reduce the height segments. Now I activate snapping with S, hover over the correct gizmo arrow and raise the object. Convert to Editable Poly and move the bottom vertices up to the proper level. After that, the previous cylinder can be deleted. Now isolate it again, select Cut and create new edges. I'll start on the top view. I'll continue cutting the shape in perspective view from both sides. Next, we add a chamfer. Select chamfer only. As you can see, it also affects the vertical edges. To fix that, increase the min angle amount. Lower amount of the chamfer. After that, we add Turbo Smooth. In my case, some polygons broke a little, so I'll go back into Editable Poly, switch to Vertices, select everything with Ctrl A and press Weld. Then we exit Vertex mode and return to Turbo Smooth. Now let's create the next table, but this time using a slightly different method. We start with a cylinder, adjust the segments, center it with a line tool, lower height segments, lift it up on the front view with snap and set up height by moving vertices. Then we delete the previous primitive. Now we create the legs, again using a cylinder. We center with the Align tool and move it closer to the edge. Next, I need to center the pivot point relative to the tabletop. To do that, go to Hierarchy, turn on Effect Pivot Only, then use Align tool with Alt+A and click on the top part of the table. After that, we add the Array modifier. Choose Radial, set Count to 4, and rotate the legs slightly. Now let's refine the top part. Go to Polygon mode, select the top and bottom polygons, open Insert Tool Settings, adjust the size a little, and press plus. Then switch to Edge mode, select one edge on each side, and use Dot Ring from the top modeling toolbar to select every second edge. Then delete them with Ctrl Backspace. Go to Polygons and collapse the center polygons. Then add Turbo Smooth. But as you can see, Turbo Smooth softens the side surface too much. That is exactly why we need a chamfer before applying Turbo Smooth. Turn off Show End Results to see how the chamfer works. Increase mean angle, so we remove the chamfer from the vertical edges and fine-tune the amount of the chamfer. And select chamfer only. And here is a small but useful tip. If you are worried about accidentally moving the camera while working, you can simply lock it. To do that, select both the camera and its target, go to Hierarchy, then Link Info and check all the boxes. After that, the camera will stay fixed and you won't accidentally ruin your angle. Now let's create the third table, this one here. We select it and isolate it. First, I'll lower high segments and set 22 sides. Convert to Editable Poly. Then we switch to Edge mode. Select one edge, then hold Ctrl and click the next one to select the entire edge loop. Now we use Connect, open the settings, set 2 segments and adjust the pinch so the new segments move closer to the edges. After that, select one edge again and while holding Ctrl, select the full edge ring. Now we apply chamfer. Click on the settings box next to it and set the amount to around 4 and choose the quad chamfer type here. Next, we need to weld the vertices to get rid of the triangles. For that, go to Vertex and select Target Weld. Click on one vertex, then click on the second one to weld them together. We need to repeat this for all of them, both on the top and on the bottom. Once that is done, we can add a chamfer modifier. Set the amount as needed. Then switch to Polygon mode and, while holding Ctrl, select all the larger polygons. Now let's do an extrude. I'll use a negative value around -5, so the shape goes inward. After that, we go back to the chamfer modifier and change its type to radial, then set it to 2 segments. Enable Smooth Chamfer only and check Smooth to Adjacent. This will give us a cleaner and smoother result. Now let's move to the right side of the scene and add this armchair. I'll open the model folder and merge the file into the scene. Then I isolate the chair model together with the box I created for it earlier. We can delete the material spheres since we don't need them here. Then I position the chair according to the box, so it fits into the scene properly. After that, back in the full scene, I move it slightly away from the wall, delete the primitive and leave the chair just a little so it sits correctly. Then I isolate it again, ungroup, and remove all the unnecessary objects that we don't need for this scene. Now I open the material editor. With a right click, I create a new material and assign it to the chair. And next, we move on to another object and create a coffee table. We switch to vertex mode. In the front view, select the bottom vertices and move them upward to create the upper part of the table. Next, go to edge mode and select all the vertical edges. Use connect and add 2 new loops. After that, apply chamfer. Choose the triangle type and set the amount to 20. Now select all the horizontal edges and use connect again. Then switch to polygon mode, select the polygons that will become the legs, and while holding shift, drag them downward to create an extrude. After that, exit isolation mode and extend the polygons down until they reach the rug, so the table sits correctly in the scene. Next, add chamfer modifier with an amount of 2, and don't forget to enable chamfer only. The table is done, so let's move on and bring the sofa model into the scene. We'll merge it from the model folder. Then isolate the sofa, open the group, and delete one of the sofas and the blanket. Next, open the material editor and assign our material to the sofa. After that, I select the group frame and use the shortcut to close the group. You can also do the same from the top menu, Group Close. Now rotate the sofa and place it near the wall according to our placeholder box. Then isolate the sofa together with the placeholder, and we can see that the model is slightly smaller than the box. So we need to adjust it. I open the group again. Then I switch to element mode. Select the armrest and move it into place. After that, I adjust the legs as well. Once that is done, I delete the box. Now I select the middle part of the sofa and use detach. Then I select that object and center its pivot point. Next, I add an FFD2 modifier and go into control points. In the top view, I select the control points and move them into place to adjust the size. I also notice that the lower part on one side has a slightly different size. So I convert it to editable poly, select the bottom part and detach it. Then select it and add another FFD2. Go into control points and adjust its size separately. Now let's move on to the cushions. I want to adjust their position so they sit a bit more horizontally. So I'll select and rotate them. After rotating, the back side of the cushions doesn't look perfect anymore. But since the sofa is placed with its back against the wall, that doesn't really bother me. Now let's center its pivot point. We will need to refine the lower part of the cushions, because right now it doesn't look very clean. To fix that, go to the ribbon panel, switch to the Freeform tab, choose Move, and carefully adjust the shape. The brush size depends on how close or far you are from the object. And the closer you are, the smaller it becomes. The farther you are, the larger the brush. After that, we can close a group and exit isolation mode. Now let's move on to the decor. We'll start by creating the bowl for the table on the left. For that, I'll go to Splines and choose Line. We'll build the shape in the front view. I'll draw the bowl profile of one side. Then I'll place it on the table, roughly where it should sit in the scene. Next, I'll add a lathe modifier. Choose Align Min. Then I'll go back to the Line Spline mode, enable Show Result, so I can immediately see the shape together with the modifier, and adjust the size using Scale by 2 coordinates. I'll also refine the shape by editing vertices. To make the form softer, I'll change the vertex type to smooth. tick the box felt core. Now let's give it some thickness. For that, in spline mode, I'll use the outline function. Tweak the inner shape by adjusting vertices. In the modifier, increase the number of segments to make the form smoother. Next, I'll add a chamfer modifier and adjust the amount. Now I can copy this ball and place another one on the right, since the second ball has a very similar shape. I'll just tweak its silhouette a little. Delete chamfer and change settings in the ladder modifier to centralize the shape. Add chamfer and adjust the amount. Let's add a decorative object to the table. I'll scale it down and place it on the tabletop. Now let's move on to the candles. I'll choose the one I want, create a group and place it on the right side. Make a copy. Then I'll take one more candle from the same set and place it on the left. Let's add the floor lamp. I'll keep the larger one and delete the other version. After that, I'll add the Ottoman. First, I'll change its width on 2 axes using scale, while keeping the height the same. Then I'll increase the height slightly, and after that I'll scale it up overall and again by 2 axes. Now let's add this vase, but the dried flowers will come from a different model. Using Alt, I'll remove the selection from the vase I want to keep and delete everything else. Then I'll place it on the small table. Now let's add the dried flowers. I'll delete the smaller vases. Then select the large vase, go into element mode, select the vase itself and delete it so only the flowers remain. After that, I'll place the dried flowers into our vase. Scale them down to fit. And rotate. Now let's add the books. I'll merge that model into the scene. While holding Ctrl, I'll also select the 2 tables and isolate them together with the books, just to make the placement easier. I'll keep only the books I like and delete the rest. And I'll arrange them on the tables. And now let's create the pine trees outside. For this, I'll be using Forest Pack. Of course, you can also do this with Corona Scatter if you prefer. I just find Forest Pack a bit more flexible since it gives you more control and a few extra options for this kind of setup. In the Create panel, open the drop-down list and choose i2 Software, then select Forest Pro. After that, in the top view, simply click on the ground to create the forest object. The plane will automatically be added as the surface for Forest Pack. In the Surface tab, you will see our plane already assigned as the distribution surface. Next, we need to add the trees. For that, go to the Geometry tab. The models I'll be using are already placed in the scene. These are ready-made snow-covered tree models. Click the plus button and select the model you want to add. Repeat this for all the tree models you want to use in Forest Pack. Then I'll go to the Display tab and change the Viewport display mode to Point Cloud to keep the scene lighter and easier to work with. Right now, some of the trees are overlapping the house, so we need to clean that up. To do that, go to the Areas tab, choose the Brush tool, set the type to Exclude, select Brush, increase the brush size, and in the top view paint over the areas where you want to remove the trees. After that, go to the Distribution tab. This is where we control the amount and placement of the trees. You can try different preset patterns here and see which one works best for the scene. However, the result is not always very clear in the viewport, so it is better to look at it directly in the render. Before that, I'll apply one material to the whole scene so nothing distracts us. Open Render Setup and enable Mtl Override. Then open the Material Editor and assign the material we created earlier into the None slot. Choose Single Map. Now we can start the interactive render. I'll raise the exposure so the scene reads more clearly. There are still too many trees in the foreground, so I'll remove a few more using the brush. Next, I'll open the Transform tab and enable variation for position, rotation, and scale. This gives the trees a more natural and less repetitive look. At the moment, the trees look too large, so I'll adjust the scale in Transform. That already looks much better. Now I'll go back to the Distribution tab and try a few more patterns. I'll also adjust units by increasing the value, which will reduce the number of trees. But now the trees start to look a little too small, so I'll return to the Transform tab and fine-tune their scale again. And we'll make even less trees in Distribution tab. And again to Transform to raise the scale. After that, I'll go back to Areas and remove a few more trees on the right side using the brush. Now it looks good. And next, we'll adjust the height of the objects in the scene so they sit more naturally on the rug and nothing looks like it is floating. Now let's move on to the lighting setup. But before that, I want to hide the trees. To do that, I'll simply select them, open Layers, create a new layer, and rename it. The selected trees will automatically be placed into that layer. So all I need to do next is click the eye icon to hide them. Now let's open Render Setup. Select the viewport with the camera and enable the lock option in Render Setup. This way the render will always use this exact viewport and the camera angle will stay fixed. Next, go to Scene Environment. Let's add a map for the lighting. Click on the None slot and choose Corona Sky. Open the material editor and drag the map there. Now we can start the interactive render. At the moment, all the exterior light in my scene is being blocked by the window glass, which currently has the gray override material. If that does not happen in your scene, then the glass is probably hidden and you will need to unhide it in the layers. A little higher in Render Setup, click Preserve and select the glass. That way the glass will render correctly. I'll lower the exposure in tone mapping, bring it down to 0. In the Corona Sky settings, I'll reduce the intensity and change the sky model. Then I'll adjust the color so the sky is not quite so strongly blue. After that, I'll raise the exposure slightly. In Material Editor, I'll select our main gray material, rename it, and make it a little darker. Then I'll raise the exposure a bit more. Let's add a Corona Sun to the scene. In Settings, I'll change the color mode from Realistic to Direct Input. After that, I'll adjust the sun direction and height directly in the viewport. I'll also reduce the intensity. And increase the size of the sun to make the shadows softer. Now we can start adding some color and saturation to our base material. This will be the color that sets the overall mood of the entire scene. I want it to feel warm but not overly saturated. I'll fine-tune the exposure again and bring it slightly lower. Then I'll increase the contrast and reduce ACES OT. Next, I'll add Filmic and adjust its settings to get a stronger contrast and a bit of highlight compression. After that, I'll return to the base color one more time. At this point it has a bit too much saturation, so I'll adjust the hue, reduce the saturation and make it slightly lighter. Now the scene already feels much more pleasant. I want to define the main colors of the large objects in the scene. I'm not going to work on every single object yet, but even this first color pass already helps establish the mood and direction for the final materials. First, I'll select the wooden objects. I'll go to the window layer. If I double-click the window layer, it selects all the window frames. After that, in the viewport, while holding Ctrl, I'll also add the ceiling to the selection. Now I'll copy the material while holding Shift and assign it to those objects. Then I'll add them to the Exclude list in Render Setup and adjust the color. Customize roughness to make it a bit more glossy. Now let's move on to the chairs. I need to assign wood to the backrest, and I also want the legs to be wood as well. I'll select and isolate all the chairs. Select one chair, go into polygon mode and select all the polygons I need. Switch to element and select with Ctrl all needed parts. This small thing select with polygons, not element. Once everything is selected, I can assign material. Then I'll invert the selection. Create a new material by copying the first one and assign it to the remaining soft part of the chair. I'll repeat the same process for each chair. For the chairs that were created as instances, the polygon selection will already match automatically. But for the ones that were made as regular copies, I need to repeat the selection manually. In both cases, the materials still need to be assigned. The material for the soft part will be a bit lighter. Next, I'll select the walls. I'll copy the light material, assign it, and add walls to exclude. Then I'll make it even lighter, reduce the saturation, and shift the tone a little. Now I'll copy the wood material, select the Ottoman, and assign it there. Then I'll also add it to exclude and adjust the color. Now I'll select the ceiling spotlights. I'll copy the material, assign it, and make it darker. Add to exclude. Adjust the roughness of the material. We now have the main mood of this scene, and that is more than enough to move on to the actual material setup in the next video. That's exactly what I'll show in the next part. Don't miss it, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.